A pair of Clarks bought in 2025 measures 3/4 of an inch shorter than the same exact model bought in 2020. Same box, same name, same style number, different shoe. Here are 6 heritage shoe brands that changed hands, changed factories, and changed construction in the last 5 years, and 3 that didn't change a single thing. Number 1. Clarks. Founded in 1825 in Street, Somerset, England, by brothers Cyrus and James Clark. The first product was a sheepskin slipper. Over the next 2 centuries, Clarks built the Wallaby and the Desert Boot into 2 of the most recognized casual shoes in the world, all made in that same Somerset factory. That factory closed in 2006. Production moved to China, Cambodia, India, Vietnam, Bangladesh, and Mexico, and by 2020, 90% of Clark's shoes were made in Asia. In November 2020, the Clark family sold a controlling stake to Lion Rock Capital, a Hong Kong private equity firm, for $170 million. In 2023, Lion Rock sold what was left to Viva China Holding Limited. A 200-year-old British shoemaker is now owned by a Chinese holding company. Buyers noticed. Reviews from 2025 and 2026 report the same Wallaby model arriving 3/4 of an inch shorter than the 2020 version, sole separation on shoes worn less than 6 months, and foam wedges replacing what used to be solid leather. Retail is still $50 to $150. The price never moved, the shoe did. Number 2. Ecco. Founded in 1963 in Bredebro, Denmark by Carl Tusbø, and still family-owned today, which is rare in this industry. The problem isn't ownership, it's the sole. Ecco builds most of its shoes with polyurethane, a foam picked for cushion and lightweight. Polyurethane has one flaw nobody tells you about at checkout. It reacts with moisture in the air. The chemical bonds break down through a process called hydrolysis, and the sole crumbles, whether you wear the shoes or not. Shelf life is 5 to 7 years from the manufacture date. A pair of Ecco dress shoes can sit in your closet for 6 years, you pull them out for a wedding, and the sole disintegrates on the walk to the car. This isn't a one-off defect. Reviews from 2010, 2020, and 2026 all describe the exact same failure. 16 years of the same complaint, same fix, none. Retail runs $150 to $250, a price that should buy you 5 to 10 years of wear. Instead, you're buying a shoe with a chemical expiration date baked in. Number 3. Sperry Topsider. Paul Sperry invented the boat shoe in Connecticut in 1935. Siped rubber sole for grip on wet decks, hand-sewn moccasin upper, all American-made. Then the ownership changed hands. Stride-Rite bought it in 2007. Wolverine Worldwide bought it in 2012 for $1.23 billion. Wolverine tried a small made-in-mainline between 2012 and 2014 as a marketing push, but it stayed a tiny fraction of total output. By Q3 2023, Sperry sales had dropped 41.4%. In May 2023, Wolverine announced it was shopping the brand around, and in January 2024, Authentic Brands Group bought Sperry for $130 million, the same private equity firm that owns Brooks Brothers. North American operations were then licensed out to Aldo Group, the Canadian mall retailer. The Made in USA line quietly disappeared. Today's Sperry is made in Vietnam, Indonesia, and China, cemented construction, synthetic linings on the entry models, and retail still sits at $90 to $130. Same shape as 1935. Different company, different country, different shoe. Quick construction lesson before we keep going, because it explains everything on this list. Cemented soles are glued to the upper, cheap and fast to make, and once the sole wears out, the shoe is done. 18 months to 3 years and you're buying another pair. Goodyear welted shoes have a leather strip stitched around the upper, and the sole attaches to that strip, not the upper itself. That means the sole can be replaced indefinitely without touching the shoe. 20 to 30 years of life with periodic resoling. And polyurethane, the foam we just covered with Ecco, breaks down from moisture exposure alone, 5 to 7 years, worn or not. Every brand on this list has changed ownership, factory location, or build quality in the last 5 years. None of them dropped the price to match. You're paying yesterday's heritage price for today's discount construction. No sponsors on this channel, so if that distinction is useful to you, that's what the subscribe button is for. Number 4. Rockport. Founded in 1971 by Bruce Katz in Marlborough, Massachusetts. Rockport invented the modern comfort dress shoe, a leather upper on top of a cushioned athletic sole, built so office workers could walk city blocks without their feet falling apart. Then the trade started. Reebok bought it in 1986. Adidas got it in 2005 when it bought Reebok. Berkshire Partners and New Balance bought it in 2015 for around $280 million. Charles Bank Capital bought it in 2017. Rockport filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in 2018. American Industrial Partners bought it in 2024. That's 7 ownership changes in 55 years, including 1 bankruptcy, and manufacturing has drifted to China and Vietnam along the way. Retail runs $100 to $180 for a shoe that's cemented construction now. Corrected grain leather sanded down to hide flaws in cheaper hides. Reviews from 2025 and 2026 describe stitching failures inside 6 months and sole separation within the first month of wear. You're paying for the name Rockport, built in Marlborough in 1975. The shoe in the box is several tiers below that. Number 5. Geox. Founded in 1995 in Italy by Mario Moretti Poligato. Built around one technical idea: perforated rubber soles that let your feet breathe. It's a real feature. Air moves through those holes. So does water. Reviews going back 2 decades, all the way through 2025 and 2026, describe the same thing: soles cracking, soles wearing through in weeks, and wet socks within 10 minutes of light rain because water comes in through the same holes that let air out. This isn't a manufacturing defect, it's the actual design of the shoe, and it hasn't changed in 30 years. Because changing it means giving up the one marketing claim the whole brand is built on. Manufacturing runs through Vietnam, Romania, Indonesia, and China. Cemented construction, polyurethane soles. Retail is $120 to $180 for an Italian shoe with holes in the bottom that lets rain in. Number 6. Timberland. Founded in 1973 by Nathan Swartz in New Hampshire. The yellow boot became one of the most recognizable pieces of American footwear in the 20th century. VF Corporation bought the brand in 2011 for $2.3 billion, and today Timberland quietly runs 2 separate product lines. There's the American-made line, built in Tennessee with Horween leather, Goodyear welted, true to the original spec, and it retails at $400 and up. Almost nobody buys this one. It's a small fraction of total sales. Then there's the yellow boot everyone actually owns, made in the Dominican Republic, China, and Vietnam, cemented or stitched depending on the model, retailing between $130 and $220. Reviews from 2024 through 2026 report color bleeding on the classic wheat nubuck, faster sole wear, and stitching failures at stress points. If you're wearing a $170 yellow boot in 2026, you're probably not wearing the boot your older brother had in the 90s. You're wearing the mass-market version sold under that boot's reputation. 6 brands, 6 names that used to mean something, all changed in the last 5 years without the price ever moving. Now here's what didn't change. Trust brand number 1, Crockett & Jones. Founded in 1879 in Northampton, England by Charles Jones and James Crockett, and still run by the same family 5 generations later, out of the same workshops. Northampton is the historic center of English shoemaking, and Crockett & Jones has stayed there the entire time, building every mainline shoe with Goodyear welted construction. Their top hand-grade collection is even hand-welted, which is about as rare as shoemaking gets today, hand-stitched welt instead of machine. You've probably seen this brand without knowing it. Daniel Craig wore Crockett & Jones shoes in all 5 of his Bond films, pulled straight from the regular catalog, not custom pieces made for the movie. Mainline retail runs $700 to $1,200. Hand grade runs up to $1,800. It sounds steep until you look at their recraft program. Send the shoes back and the workshop rebuilds the sole, heel, and welt. A pair bought today, recrafted twice over 30 years, costs roughly $1,500 total. That's a shoe that gets better looking every year you own it. Trust brand number 2, Loake. specifically the 1880 line. Loake was founded in Kettering, Northamptonshire in 1880 by brothers John, Thomas, and William Loake, and it's still run by the same family 5 generations in. Loake holds a royal warrant, meaning it's an official supplier to the British royal family. Here's the catch. Loake sells 2 different product lines, and most buyers only ever see the cheaper one. The 1880 collection is the real deal, Northampton-made, Goodyear welted, same construction discipline as Crockett & Jones. Loake also sells an entry-level design line made in India, which is fine for what it is, but it's not the shoe the brand's reputation was built on. You have to specifically ask for the 1880 collection. It retails around $400 to $600, roughly half of Crockett & Jones for comparable welted construction, and it hasn't changed meaningfully in 30 years. Trust brand number 3, Red Wing Heritage. Founded in 1905 in Red Wing, Minnesota by Charles Beckman, and the original factory is still running boots off the line today. Red Wing splits into 2 lines, Red Wing Work for Tradesmen and Red Wing Heritage, the dress and casual line, both still Goodyear welted, triple-stitch seams, vegetable tanned leather options. The Iron Ranger is the clearest example. Designed in 1932 for miners in northern Minnesota, still in production, same leather, same specs, same factory. Retail runs $300 to $450, and Red Wing runs its own recraft program out of that same Minnesota factory. Full sole, heel, and midsole replacement. A pair of Iron Rangers bought today, recrafted 3 times over 30 years, runs about $750 total. Made by the same factory that built the original 1932 pair. 3 brands that earn their price, 6 that don't. If you own a dress shoe over $150, flip it over. Stitching crossing the bottom means it's welted and can outlast the decade. Just glue or perforated holes means it's cemented or running on borrowed time. Drop the brand and how many years you got out of it in the comments, and subscribe if you want the next breakdown before you buy your next pair.